Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about the conversion of a PintX. I was able to score one for just $500 that was broken. The guy had, I don't know what he did, but in the end the controller was shorted and he sold the whole thing in parts. So when I picked it up, it was literally just a pile of parts. I had no idea if even everything was included. And yeah, so I want to put in a Trampa VESC. It's a VESC 675, so that's a newer model of the VescX series that does support 75 volts instead of just 60, which means we can easily run up to 16S batteries with it. Here I would just use the stock 15S battery that comes with the PintX. Luckily, the battery, even though there was a huge black mark between the BMS and the pack, turns out the BMS is good, the battery is still good, and I was able to reuse it. So yeah, this Trampa VESC has several unique features, such as support for silent HFI startup. It has support for a hibernate mode, so it can put itself to sleep. It supports a momentary switch. It does not have built-in Bluetooth, so you do need to add that. And it also doesn't have pull-down resistors, which means we got to add them, but that is pretty common. I think only the little Fokker has those. Other than that, yeah, it should be a pretty high-quality VESC. I have to admit, I received it for free, so I did not pay for it. It is not cheap. It's like in the order of $400. But what's really nice about this Trampa VESC is that it's very compact, and so it easily fits into the enclosure. Actually, there's plenty of room to spare, so I had to print spacers to make sure that the thing doesn't slide around. Yeah, so let's go and take a look at the build.
Before we put everything together, I want to run the motor wizard and also test the foot sensors. So let's go with the wizard. Okay. That's the flux. And now the Hall sensors. All right, that looks pretty reasonable, comparable to what we get for other VESCs, so that's good. And now the same thing for the foot sensors. So to do that, we switch to the balance app. The next thing I like doing is in balance fault, in the fault tab, I like to set the ADC switch values to 3.3. That way you cannot on accident engage the board while testing this. And then we write the settings over here. And then we enable the real-time app data right here. Now that's blue, and we see data streaming. That's actually IMU data, but we also see the ADC values twitching, and that's a good sign. That means if I now press, boom, 3.27. If I press on the right, 3.27. Sweet, it's working. All right, foot sensors are working, motor is working. We can close this thing up. I've been trying to build my own Bluetooth module like I used to in the past, but I just can't seem to buy working Bluetooth modules. So I ended up just buying a ready-made Flipski VESC Bluetooth module. That one's more expensive. It's $30 on Amazon, but at least it gets the job done and you don't have to do any programming at all. So it does work. Also, one thing you need to know is that if your VESC doesn't have pull-down resistors, which most don't, only the little Fokker and the cheap Fokker, they have it. But if they don't, then you need pull-down resistors between ADC1 and ground, and another one between ADC2 and ground. So here is ADC1, ADC2, and the pull-down resistors here are actually integrated down below. You You can see they're under shrink wrap, but it doesn't really matter where you put them as long as they sit between the ADCs and ground. So here is what the bypassed BMS looks like. Basically, the positive just gets bridged over from one connector to the other, and that's the only change. Charging still works as before, it will balance, and discharge means it just goes straight to the battery, and the BMS has no longer the ability to cut power while riding.
So now it's time to assemble it. We got all the parts laid out. The VESC is in here. It is always on, unfortunately, because we couldn't get the button to work. It's not compatible with the momentary switch that is in there, but this is good enough. So let's go and put it together. Alright, so here it is, the VescX in action. Go down this deep freaking hill. Shit. Always scary, but it works. And to avoid the mud, it rained here 2 days ago, but it works great. And what I really love about this PintX is that it came with this awesome battery. It's basically a full-size XR battery in the Pine form factor, so that makes it really nice. Anyway, so everything works really well. I'm actually pretty impressed with how smooth the motor feels with the with that. Oh, fuck. Whew. And the rain really kind of did a number on this trail. All right. It sure seems that the motor control with the Trampa VESC is really smooth, and I haven't had any issues with cogging or doing that crunch sound when doing the sensorless transition, and it just sounded good from the first time. Fuck! trail definitely got a little more challenging since that rainfall. But also the stock pine tire, I think a lot of it has to do with that. I normally cruise here on the XR. Even the Vega seems better than the stock pine tire. Anyway, so the main complaint that I have so far with the Trampa VESC is the way how the button works. And well, I was super excited about the hibernate mode and the ability to use a momentary switch, but then I discovered they require a normally closed momentary switch, and all momentary switches that I can find are normally open by default, except for the ones with 5 pins. But the small size that fits in here, which is a 12mm switch, I haven't found one yet that has the 5 pins, so they're all normally open, which means I can't use it. Unsuitable here. Here comes the single track. No problem at all. So we'll see how this VESC does with some of this steeper terrain here. Whoa, shit. But the stock pine tire definitely makes it challenging. Shit. This way. This is scary. Okay, this is definitely a lot more scary than with the VescX. Fuck. But I did it. This is as far as I normally go. Okay, so temperatures. Hypercore is warmer than the MOSFETs. That's before the uphills. As always, can't really tell on the 360 cameras. Can't tell how steep it is, but I can tell you I still haven't seen anyone clear all this on an XR. I would love to try the Superflux in the pint. Definitely fits. Putting the pint connector on is probably going to be painful, or maybe just skip the pint connector and go straight into the housing. But it is nice being able to disconnect the motor without opening up everything. But definitely more challenging with those pint connectors. feels like more of a workout with the Pint than with the XR. I have to ride a bit more actively. But this is nothing about the VESC. This is just the Pint form factor and the tire. But hey, grippy it is. Our temperatures, yeah. MOSFET's still below the motor, but both are going up. Yes! Alright, that was the most challenging little spot. Requires a tiny little pump to get over it. Shit. Wah! Whew. Alrighty, survived the single track. So yeah, I mean, I love this little thing. This is really cool. As soon as I get a better tire, I really can't wait for that Enduro to come out, because I really like it on the XR, and having that for the Pint will be epic. But still need to build up my confidence to go faster on this thing on trails. So yeah, the MOSFETs of the VescX 75 still below the motor temperature. So yeah, this setup works perfectly. I mean, the Pint's enclosure, which is all metal underneath it, is basically an awesome heatsink for the VESC. So you don't need too much else. And as we can see, anything the motor will be the bottleneck. But I don't have stator rate in this guy yet, and eventually I'm sure I'll add it, but for now I'll leave that closed. But now the ability to accelerate uphill is pretty awesome. There is no way you can go up this, accelerate up this on the Pint. All right, let's see if I can make this. I hear the motors are now, motor's at 55. All right, think light, think light. Think traction. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Yes! Whew. That was easy. Yes. Alrighty. Well, that worked pretty well. Still a bit experimental, but let's see. Works? Nope. How about now? Here we go. Kind of works. All right, well, this is it. PintX is VESC. And yeah, what's next? I do want to still try the silent HFI. That's a new mode that is only supported by the newer Trampa VESCs. That is supposed to give us a more torquey startup as opposed to using Hall sensors. So we'll see how that works. And obviously I need to fix my button, but I don't have the tools to drill a bigger hole for a bigger button. And here, if we take a look at that right here, I just have a nice cover on it. But yeah, I definitely would like to have a button, because right now this thing is always on, which is not ideal. Anyways, this is all. I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you guys next time.